All right, I'm back with another video here in my garage, and I just wanted to give another quick update on my burnt Ferrari 360 garage art engine. So that was a pretty long title right there. So yeah, what have I done? It's been probably a week or so, and then you can see I've already added some more components to the engine. So basically what I'm doing is, yeah, as you've seen in the other videos, I've got the engine pretty much all tore down, except for the old cylinder heads. I'm still going through those. But once I get all these parts of this engine assembly pretty much blasted, because they're really dirty, grease and grime and all kinds of good stuff, fire retardant and stuff like that. But once I get them pretty clean, then I can go over to the gearbox. We can pull that out, and then I'll make a video on tearing that down. And then we got to get all those components cleaned up there. And then once I get pretty much everything clean, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the machine. I'm going to drain it. I'm actually going to empty the media that I've been using. It's still good. I can use it for other projects or whatever, but I need to take the machine and clean it inside, because it's greasy, grimy all in there. Scrub it all down, get it nice and clean. Then I ordered all new media. I've got the glass bead and the aluminum oxide. And then I'm going to reload the machine, put fresh clean water in there, and then we're going to take all these parts, completely take the engine, take all these parts back off again and blast them all individually. And it should make it to where the parts should look a lot cleaner and a lot brighter. And then a lot of the parts are going to be more uniform as far as the colors are concerned. So it should look way better the second time around. But like I said, I'm constantly changing the water out that's just completely black. It's not going to clean as best as it's capable of. And then also I got an issue with my compressor. I won't go into full detail on that. I'm going to make a video on the vapor honing machine, and I'll talk more about that later. But it just does not have the power to run this vapor honing machine. It's just, I think the minimum requirements are around 20 or so CFM, and mine is only putting out 15.8, so it's well below the minimum requirements. So I'm sure that's affecting how good the machine cleans and how fast it cleans. So we got some issues there, but I mean, I'm still getting good results out of it. But like I said, the compressor is just running all the time, and it just can't keep up. So I'm sure the CFMs are even dropping even well below that. So I'm sure with a new compressor, we can get way better results. But anyway, let me go over real quick what I've done. So you can see the cams. I've got those out of the old cylinder heads, kind of cleaned them up real quick. And I was kind of experimenting with some areas of the cams. I was kind of blasting them a little bit longer, and I just wanted to see the color change on it. So you can see there's different shades of gray on one of the cams, and because I was testing it out and see how light it was going to come. So they're going to get really light gray once they get really nice and clean. So the bearing caps cleaned up really good. Those look nice. The main cap on the front, I had some issues with the bearings there. The bearings got some kind of coating on them, and then what happens is that coating, with all the heat, started bubbling up. And then once you try to put those bearings in with the cap and you try to snug it down, it's binding up the camshafts. So we got some clearance issues there. I'm going to have to get those bearings cleaned up so I can reuse those in this engine here. So, and then also I put a lot of new fasteners on the engine, like on the sides and the mounts and stuff like that, all around the front of the engine and everything. A lot of new fasteners. Got the oil line on there, as you can see. Didn't vapor hone that because it will just strip that anodizing off in 30 seconds. So I had to scrub that with a brush and some simple green, and it looks really nice. And let's head to the front real quick, and I'll show you what I've added here. So I cleaned up the power steering pump. It's still kind of rough, but it looks a lot better than it did before. And then you notice the pulley on the front, it was super rusted up really bad, along with the tensioner bearings and the cam pulleys. Actually, let me put a picture right here in the video, and as you can see, this is how bad it was. Just in case if somebody didn't watch the first video that I made, this is how bad the rust was on those pulleys, and it's been sitting for years in a salvage yard like that. So I'm actually in shock that I was able to get them this clean right here, but there's still some small amounts of rust in the pits, in parts of the pulley, so I have to get those smoothed out and get them blasted out. And I soaked the pulleys down with WD-40, so hopefully that'll kind of soften up some of that rust in those pits. And then also there's little fragments of rubber, in between the grooves of the pulley. So I've been picking that out slowly but surely. It's just very time consuming. And then hopefully that WD-40 will soak in some of those small fragments of rubber, kind of soften that up a little bit so I can get that cleaned up the next round. The front cover on the bottom of the engine, it turned out pretty good. The pulleys look really nice. And I got a lot of new fasteners on there. I got all new Nylock stainless steel fasteners on there, new washers and everything. Water pump and the thermostat housing, I got that on there. The thermostat housing just sitting on it right now, just so I can show you in the video. But that turned out really good. The water pump looks pretty decent too. The only issue is it just had a lot of melted plastic and aluminum that was dripped down the front of it. Just very time consuming to pick all those contaminants off without trying, keep from scratching, especially the thermostat housing because it's so smooth. Just keep from scratching that, but it looks pretty good. It doesn't look too bad. And then let me see what else. The tensioners on there, I guess it looks like they're made of like a cast iron, but I blasted those, so they're just completely bare. And but I put some WD-40 on it to keep from rusting, and they kind of freed up and actually sprung out because they were stuck. And then actually they got good enough tension to kind of tighten that belt up, so it won't look saggy. So it looks pretty good now. Both of them kind of freed up, so that was definitely a plus. And then the mounts for the tensioner bearings too, those cleaned up really nice also. So, and I also put some lubricant on that to keep those from rusting. And then the belts are just some belts that I had saved from probably 10 or 12 years ago, from when I did a previous timing belt change. But I gave a whole box of parts that I had to the new owner of the car, and he had those in there, and he actually gave those back to me, so that was cool of him to do that. So I was able to slide those down there to see what that looks like there. And then let's see if I can squeeze between here and show you this side. And then just the cams in there, the bearing caps, and then still cleaning some of the fasteners there, and then some new fasteners on the side here and another mount. So that looks pretty good there. And then I got the oil filter housing cleaned up, and I couldn't find my Ferrari 360 filter. I think I have a couple of them laying around somewhere, but they're probably in a box somewhere stored away. So I did find this 430 filter, so I just stuck that on there real quick to see what it looks like. Oh, that looks pretty good there. So yeah, that's so far. That's all the components that I put on. Like I said, I'm just taking the parts. I'll pull them out of the box, and I'll clean them up, and then I'll put them on, and then I'll determine if I need to put new fasteners or clean the fasteners that it came with, and then I'll just put it on the engine. So pretty soon I'm going to have a lot more parts on this engine assembly here. And another thing is too, you see I took the engine off of the engine stand, and I put it on this hydraulic cart so I can kind of move it up and down. And the reason for that is because after I get the gearbox tore down, I'll make a video of that also, and then get the outer, the case cleaned up. Then what I'm going to do is I got to press a new mount. I'll probably just buy one from Ferrari, get one out of 430 Scuderia. I'll press it into the gearbox, and then I'm going to bolt it onto the back of this engine block here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mock up the engine stand that I'm going to design and then build. I'm going to build out of tubular steel, and then I'm going to use the mounts, the one on each side of the engine, and then the one on the top of the gearbox to basically mount it into the stand. And another thing too is I wanted to, kind of raise and lower the height of the engine to see, which is going to be the best, I think, overall view of from a certain height. So I think this is probably right where I want it, right here. It just gives you a nice view, overall the very top of the engine. You can actually get a good view of the velocity stacks on the top. And then also it's not too high to where it won't be top heavy. And then what's going to happen is the higher it goes, the wider the base is going to have to be to make it stable. So if I keep it nice and low, I can narrow the base down, and then it doesn't take up a lot of room in the garage. So I can't wait to get that gearbox cleaned up and get it mounted on the back and start making the stand. That's going to be really nice to get that done. We'll put some nice casters on it, and it should look really nice, and we'll powder coat it black. It should look really, really good. And so that's it so far on this update here. And like I said, I'll start working more on cleaning more parts and putting them on. And then when I get enough parts on there, then I'll come back and I'll shoot another quick video again. And then once all the engine parts, as far as the engine assemblies, are cleaned, then we'll go ahead and get in the gearbox, and then I'll make a long video on that, tearing that down, and then we'll get that cleaned up, okay? So anyway, that's it for this update here. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good day.